Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 543. And today we're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. Now, before this is being recorded live or broadcast live on Twitch, on YouTube, and Facebook. And we were just having this real cool pre-show chat. So I'd highly recommend going to any one of those channels, searching my name, and therefore you can subscribe and be notified, and we can actually have a chat. I love talking to you before we start this live stream. But today we're going to be talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. And we were just talking about, for example, me writing my book. And I was saying that I did not write my book. Some of you know that because I've said it before, but not that I did it in a fraudulent way. I just spoke my book. Because one thing I learned to do was to be able to speak when it came to my podcast. And because I got D's in English, 2 D's, in England you have the English literature and one or the other, and I forgot because I was that bad at it. But I got D's. I was terrible. I get my words mixed up. I definitely get, when I speak, my words kind of get just like that, pretty much. So I was pretty bad at writing. So I chose to think, well, is there another way? You see, this big fear of writing a book was really debilitating. But there's always a way. So I began to just record it, get someone to transcribe it and then edit it. And then I put it out to publishers where they all rejected me until Hay House then unrejected me because they had a second look at it, I guess. But the key here is I didn't think I was able or capable to write a book. But I did it anyway because my mission was bigger than my limitation. Now, you might feel like an imposter sometimes. You might feel that you are incapable. The fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of being found out, the fear of not being enough. All of those things when it comes to a certain goal or dream that you desire. But I'm here to tell you that everything, and I say this in the greatest way possible, everything that you've done to this point that you started at, most probably you were very bad at it. You were terrible at learning to walk. You were probably terrible when you began your profession. You were probably terrible when you learned to drive a car. But you got with it. Because it was maybe more socially acceptable because you think, well, everyone drives a car. Maybe as a kid, you're looking at all your parents and your friends and go, look, everyone else is doing it. And no one, especially as you're a child, your parents or your guardians didn't say you couldn't do it. They never said, look, you're really bad at this. You're really bad at learning to walk. You better stop doing this. They never said that. You kept on going. You kept on looking. You kept on falling. Yet you kept on moving forward. That is what we've got to get to when it comes to our present goals and our dreams. You see, if it is something that you truly desire, if you want to be emotionally free, if you want to know that you're worthy, if you want to know that you're deserving, if you want to know that you're capable, if you want to get that promotion, if you want to start that business, whatever it is, no matter what dream that you have, the chances are it's going to be scary. Why? Because it means something to you and it's something that you haven't achieved. So embrace it. Stepping out of your comfort zone is one of those things that, yes, it can be scary, but staying within the comfort zone is very scary too if you think about it. Because your comfort zone isn't really comfort, it's just familiar. That's all it really is. It's not a comfort zone, it is just what you're used to. It's what you've begun to learn about yourself. This present familiar zone is just what you've become accustomed to based on your past experience. But if you have a big dream and goal, then it's okay to feel fear. It's really a weird concept because we've been programmed, and I don't know how society or friends or family, maybe it's because they were told things, their parents told their parents, or the other way around, your past relatives then relayed it all the way down the family line, or society and culture, friends and family. We've been taught that fear is actually bad. Well, no, fear can keep us alive. Fear can keep us moving. Fear has actually allowed us to be where we are, but the problem is we have this primary response, which is the good aspect of what generates fear, and that is our fight and flight response. But then the secondary fear is what we've learned. So let me say that again. We have the fight and flight response. That is inbuilt into your neurology. You have no control over that. It will kick into action when you need it. If you're being attacked, it will make you fight or flight. But there's that secondary fear that causes us to stop, and that's the conditioned fear, that's the unconscious fear, that's the conscious fear. But we've got to realize that fear isn't actually there to hurt you, it's there to try to protect you. But the intention of that protection is, or the behavior is misguided. It's just misguided. We've got to retrain the unconscious mind, but it starts with you. If you start to expand your comfort zone, the chances are you'll realize it was never as bad as it actually was. Happens time and time again throughout everyone's life. The fear of the fear is more fearful. The anxiety of what might happen is more fear-driven or anxiety-based than the actual reality of it. Because we create illusions in our mind, distortions, deletions, all these generalizations of what could happen, but in reality, it's not always that bad. We've got to realize that yes, the thing that we want might be fearful, and so what? Many people have the belief they've got to know everything about what has to happen to get to where they want to be. And it's a total myth, it's a total lie. You've just got to start. You just got to start doing. The doing is the learning, and I'll tell you exactly why. And I learned this as a practitioner or a coach or a hypnotist or hypnotherapist. I don't even know what name I'd even give myself these days. But my training was pretty extensive, done lots of trainings, lots of investment into it, and they were all good and great. But my biggest learning wasn't in the training. The learnings were in the doing. That's where I learned. You see, if you were going to become a surgeon, you don't know everything about surgery once you graduate. The chances are you know enough, but the real experience, the real learnings, the real wisdom is gained by the experience of doing. We always begin to self-sabotage by thinking we don't know enough. But the truth is, you will only know when you do. And we've then got to think about the fears that hold us back, which is the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of being found out, the fear of not being enough. But we've got to get to the point of realizing that those beliefs are trying to protect us, but are there alternatives? How can we rewire how our mind thinks? We've got to get in touch with our unconscious mind. We've got to be able to pre-teach it, connect with it. And we said this recently, but people only have issues because they've been hypnotized by the external world through the events that they've been through, which has caused them to have a conclusion of what they feel is true. Oh, I got rejected, therefore I'm not worthy. Oh, I failed at this thing, that must mean I'm a failure. And it's absolutely not true. Those past events are just situations that happen to us that we can actually learn from. They don't have to define your future. They don't have to define who you are as a person. Yes, they happened. Yes, they're bad, but that is not who you are. You are so much more. But we hypnotize ourselves after a while because we buy into the experience. That's the real struggle. When someone tells us something so often, or if culture or society or the big experience that we went through, and you probably know what that experience is. I know my one, and you probably know that when my teacher, when I was 10, 11 years old, made me stand up in front of all my classmates, asked me a question about math or maths in England. I had no idea because I wasn't that confident in the beginning. I had no idea about mathematics. And then she said, look, Joseph, you don't know this question. How are you meant to go to the next stage of school, which would be our secondary school, which I'm guessing is like high school? In that moment, my body, my mind, my unconscious mind said, I do not like public speaking. I do not know how to deal with all the attention on me. So it began to be anxiety, fear, and dread in many different areas. When it came to education, when it came to myself, in all that I did. That one event, and there were others before that, because I was a shy child anyway. I didn't even speak to my grandparents or anything like that, or maybe yes or no answers. But that one event created a decision which just got in my mind, and after a while, I began to believe in it. I began to almost reaffirm it because of what someone did or the conclusion that I came up with because of that situation. It's like a little virus in our mind that keeps on repeating. It's that story that we live by. But I'm here to tell you, look, this is not your reality. There is another way. That fear that you experience when it comes to your biggest dreams or desires, whether it be internal, whether it be external, it's okay. Do you know what? You will fail. You will mess up. And you know, always say, like, there's no such thing as failure because there's only learnings. You actually learn from those experiences. Those learnings become the wisdom. Those learnings give you that platform to go and move forward. So don't necessarily welcome the failings, but embrace them and go, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow because of this. It takes the pressure off you. And the other thing is this, if you're not that good at something, don't focus on being perfect. And there's a weird little mindset shift. So just think about this. Your job is not to be perfect or to be the best. It's just to suck less at doing that thing. That relieves the pressure straight away. I'm just going to get less bad at this thing. Oh, okay, I can do that. I can just then make little steps and get a little bit better. Because we see and compare ourselves to many people. You might compare yourself, maybe say for example, confidence. I'm generally a very confident in who I am as a person when I'm doing these talks. Like, I really don't make too many notes. I kind of go on a run and we'll see what happens. But it wasn't always that way. And you might be comparing yourself, well, I want to be confident like that, or to someone else. But the truth of the matter is, I was really bad in the beginning. Really bad at public speaking. You go to my YouTube channel, click the reverse in uploads, and you'll see how bad I was. But I used it as an opportunity to get better. I was seeing it as, okay, I'm not very good. How can I make little adjustments every single day? How can I be consistent to learn my craft? I don't need to compare myself to other people. I just got to compare myself to who I am now, to who I were yesterday or a week ago or a month ago. That takes the pressure off us. That causes us to see things differently. It gives us, okay, I'm just here to grow. And you know what? Those fears I have, they're okay. I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because I'm worthy of the change. Because if I didn't want it, then I wouldn't do it. But because I want it enough, because I know why I want it, we should actually embrace that fear. It's okay to be bad at something in the beginning. You got to get through that boundary and go beyond your comfort zone and embrace it. Don't see it as a problem, see it as an opportunity to grow, to expand yourself. Yes, there'll be times when things don't work out, but that's okay. That's a part of the growth. The chances are you will learn more from those so-called failures from your actual wins. You'll learn more from the process more than the outcome itself. It's all about the journey. Learning from those situations. When everyone says no, you learn from it. When the stress and the fear is coming into our mind, if we have that fear and doubt, that inner talk, and it gets louder, it gets bigger, that is where we double down on who we are. We realize that actually, even though I'm going through fear, I'm going through it. I'm going to say it again. Even if you're going through fear right now, you are going to get through it. It's okay. Sometimes things will happen, mistakes will be made, but they won't be failures or mistakes if you learn from it. That comfort zone of yours was not always there. In the beginning, when you came into this world, there was no such thing as a comfort zone other than being in the womb. But then you go through life and you started to gradually expand it. Now you might think this is your range right now, but that's not true at all. There is so much more to explore. You have this map of the world, okay? Imagine you have this map of the world or on a piece of paper. This is your map, but there's so much more of a territory you haven't explored yet. We've got to get beyond that and realize there's so much to explore. To explore beyond you, but also to explore within you to realize who you are. To realize that anything that is worth doing, there will be potentially some fear. There will be potentially some anxieties, and it's okay. We have a kaleidoscope of emotions. We really do. And it's our judgment to them which will hold us back. But let's try not to judge fear. Let's try not to judge anxiety. Let's start to think it's a learning process. Maybe your unconscious mind is anxious because it hasn't done it yet. Just like when you were learning to walk or learning to drive, you probably got a little bit anxious because you haven't done it yet. But once you started to do it, you became accustomed to it. It became unconscious. It started to be more natural. We've talked about this recently. There are 4 steps of learning. The first step is I don't know what I don't know. I'm unconsciously incompetent at what the situation is. The second phase is being consciously incompetent. That means, oh, now I know that I'm not good at something. You haven't got there yet. Then the next phase, the third one, is being consciously competent. There's where you're going to be right now or maybe above. Because you're here, you're awake, you're ready, you're tuned in, you're ready to learn, you're ready to grow. So now you're consciously aware that something's not quite right, but also you're starting to do something about it. And that means once you do enough of it, the thing that you think that you're bad at, the thing that keeps you stuck in your comfort zone, the more you push up, the more you push forward, you go around it, underneath it, over it, through it, it doesn't matter, you just do it. When you do it, after a period of time, you hand it over to your unconscious mind. That is the 4th stage of learning, which is unconscious competence. So the first phase is unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. The second one is, oh, now I know that I don't know something. The conscious incompetence. Then the third one being, okay, now I'm practicing, consciously competent. I'm getting used to the strategy. I'm embracing, yeah, there's fear, yeah, there's doubt, yeah, the people are going to say no, and it's okay. After a while, then you phase over, you hand over to your unconscious mind, and then it becomes natural. That is when you learn to walk and now you don't think about it. That is when you fully really learn how to drive and you drive from A to B and you sometimes realize how you got there. That is when you're just speaking about something and it's just flowing through you. There are so many automatic processes what we do, but we actually get in our own way. So I'm telling you, get out your own way. Let's go ahead all into something. Think about that big dream that you have and embrace it. And as I said, just don't think about being perfect. You're never gonna be perfect. There's only two realities when it comes to perfection. Either everything is perfect and therefore you are, and therefore you can be perfectly good and not being good at it. Or everything is not perfect, and that just relieves a lot of pressure, because that means we're just totally unique in every single way. So either reality you choose, realize that rather going for perfection in the limiting way, just suck less at doing the thing that you're learning. That means you're going to get a little bit of traction. You're going to build up momentum. You're going to start to move forward. You're going to start to grow, because when we get into that frame of mind, you release the pressure. You go, do you know what? Fear? It's okay. I'm anxious. Okay, it's happening, but I'm going to get through it. I realize the fear and the anxiety, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being found out, the fear of failing, the fear of success is a protective mechanism. It's something that I've acquired and learned due to my past experience. It happened. I don't know what happened for you, but something happened, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Usually there's significant emotional events or a one-time event where we came to a conclusion about ourselves or the world. But unconsciously, we didn't have a better opportunity of choosing something else because of the stress that we were in. But now you're through that or beyond it. Let's start being gentle on ourselves. And I'm not saying you specifically, but we are way too hard on ourselves. Do you know what? When it comes to our comfort zone and what we can and cannot do, you treat yourself like you'd never treat your best friend, or how your best friends would never treat you. We can be so hard upon ourselves that we would never be like that to anyone else. And that's not right. Today we change that. Today is the day that you start to be gentle on yourself and realize this is all growth. This is all learning. This is all evolution of who I am. This is about getting our mindset into the place that we grow and shine together. You see, within you, you have everything you need. You have all the resources. We've just got to get our unconscious mind in the right place to learn and grow. And it starts with you. Be gentle on yourself. Because when you start to hate our situation, or we start to put too much pressure on ourselves, we're going to crumble. And also that's directed to our unconscious mind. And as it gets directed to our unconscious mind, it will get more fearful. What if we just laughed at our mistakes and go, do you know what? I was silly then. There are plenty of things that I've done in my past. And in my past, my past can govern me, or I can go, do you know what? It happened. It happened. I'm going to learn from it. I can grow. I can put humor to it. Because younger Joseph was not that good at times. Younger Joseph made some decisions which weren't the best, but at the time, I thought they were. Otherwise, you or I would have chose something differently. But you chose the decisions that you've made, which may have resulted in so-called failures, but you did it for the best of intentions or the best of decisions on an intentional or purposeful way. So why be governed by our past when we're in a new mind now? So be gentle on yourself. Don't put too much pressure. You see, you might look around, you might see all the big leaps. You might see even me now being kind of confident. I like to think I'm pretty confident when it comes to doing this kind of work. I've been doing it for a long time though. I've been doing hypnosis. I don't know how long for. I think it's 19 years. I started at 18 years old. and I always forget my age. I'm sure I'm 37. Very sure. April, May, 38 next month. I hope. But I've been doing it for a long time, and you might think, well, Jose, I want your confidence. But there was a journey there. Yeah, we can fast track it by getting the help and like getting that one-to-one support, listening to hypnosis. But realize it's not about the big leaps you see in others. It's about the small steps that you make, which will become the perceived big leaps of others. You don't see other people's steps, you just see their leaps of transformation. And the vice versa, when it comes to you, people, once you've changed, think, oh my goodness, you've made some big leaps and strides, but they don't see the work that you put into it. They don't see the adjustments, the decisions. They don't see all those things happening. You've got to realize that my comfort zone is here to be expanded. It's not here to hinder me. It's here for me to grow. It's here for me to shine. It's here for me to learn about myself. We've got to get in touch with our unconscious. We've got to get it back on track, and it starts with being gentle on yourself. As I said, you'd never treat your best friends how you'd treat yourself at times. That negative self-talk. Now is time to change that. Let's nurture ourselves. Let's be gentle. Let's see what we can do. Let's ask, how can I learn from this? How I can grow because of this. When you begin to come from that place, you will learn. And as I said, some people think they need to have everything right. Everything's got to be perfect, that you've got to know everything right now. But you don't. You will only acquire that if you ever do, because as life is a journey, there's always more to learn. You will get the learnings from the doing. Not from having to read everything, understand everything. It's about putting it into practice. It's about doing what has to be done. It's about understanding this is a process, not to be perfect, just to suck less at doing something. Takes the pressure off you. You go, okay, I'm just going to get a little bit better today. What can I do today which will allow me to get better than yesterday? I'm not going to compare myself to others. I'm going to compare myself from where I was a year ago or 6 months ago or a week ago, whatever it is for you. But you got to get out your own way and realize it is a process of learning. It's a process of growth. It's an evolution of who you are. And that is going to be the most joyful in retrospect sometimes, because it can be a little bit scary. But in retrospect, you'll go, oh my goodness, I am so pleased I made the decision to get out my own way and to learn from my experience. To learn in the moment. Because you will then know yourself. You will not know yourself by remaining the same or failing and doing nothing. You only know yourself when you start to do something, when you start to implement, when you start to grow, when you start to take massive inspired action. We've got to start getting ourselves in the right mindset to be able to nurture exactly who we're going to be. To create who we want to be. You see, every loss, every failure is a learning. And sometimes that learning will actually create a spark in you. And that spark will be the defining thing that sets you free. You don't learn from the wins, you learn from the so-called losses. The growth is outside of this present comfort zone that we live. So let's be gentle. Let's move forward together. Let's get in touch with our unconscious mind more than ever before to nurture it and say, look, now is my time to shine. I'm going to treat my unconscious mind like I would a best friend, like I would a child. So you can nurture it and get it on your side. For when you do that, you'll start to thrive and shine and enjoy it. I can honestly tell you every problem I have, and it's only happened the last 7 years or so, but every problem I have, I'm like, this is a challenge to overcome. I'm going to learn because of this. And I honestly mean that. Everything that happens, I'm like, okay, what are we going to do about this? How can I learn from this? What am I going to grow? How can I solve this in the most beneficial way, which will serve myself and others? That's what I'm looking for, the learnings, because the learnings will push you through. So we've got to get to that place of starting now, taking action, realizing and enjoying the process of growth. You're not going to be good in the beginning, or some people can, because sometimes people just naturally get into it. But if you're not feeling confident, then you're not going to be that good about being confident. If you don't feel good enough right now, then you're not going to be that good because you've been maybe a professional of not being good enough for a long time of your life. But that is not who you are when you decide that, okay, I've been a professional of not being good enough. How about I start to be good enough? How can I start to learn and implement and grow and just get to where I want to be by taking that step outside of my comfort zone? Because when you do, it won't be as scary as what you thought. It won't be as anxious. It won't be fearful. In fact, you might just enjoy it. It might teach you a lesson of how powerful you are in every single way. So let me go ahead and take some of your questions right here. If we've got some. I know we've got one. I'm going to put that on the side. I'm going to go through some of these things, comments here. Jerry, I get the imposter syndrome at times, but I've learned that it's because I'm out of my comfort zone and learning and evolving. Yeah, because you know what? If we're outside of our comfort zone, we don't know what we don't know. But once you live there long enough, then you start to realize, actually, this is my new comfort zone. Really good observation, Jody. Kayla says, this means so much. I had a business I loved, but I couldn't do it all by myself, so I stopped. But now I've just got a job to run another business for someone else. I'm so scared, but I need to do this. Well, I'm pleased that you said that this means so much, and what I want you to know, Kayla, learn from that past experience. That past experience doesn't have to define who you are. It's a growth. It's an evolution of the next phase of you. Think about this, how I see it. Now, in my program, I talk about it. It's like we have version 1 of us, the 1.0. Well, now we're getting to the 2.0. We're upgrading our system. So start to embrace it as a challenge. Start to see it as a learning curve that actually will cause you to transform. Brian said, Viz, fantastic information. Well, thank you, Brian. I really, really appreciate that. And that's right, Jody. That's where the magic happens beyond our comfort zone. Kayla says, so being scared is normal. Well, it's not that it's normal, but for some people, going for their dream might be scary. And if it is the case, don't let that fear or the feeling of being scared stop you. It's just that you don't know what you don't know yet. So it's an emotion that we go through, but it's a secondary emotion. Realize the fight and flight response will protect you. That is hardwired into your neurology. So the secondary of, oh, I'm fearful because I don't believe I am enough, that's got to go. That's what we got to realize. That's the illusion that we tell ourselves sometimes based on our past experience. Realize that's what you can go through. But it can be natural to feel it sometimes, but it doesn't have to stay this way. The pain doesn't have to remain, but the pain of staying the same will remain. So we've got to get out our own way and go, look, I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to grow. And yeah, sometimes it's fearful. Sometimes I might doubt myself, but it doesn't mean it's going to stop me. I'm going to push beyond my comfort zone because I know that's where the learning is. That's the evolution of me. Yvonne says, practice and progress over perfection. Yes. I was saying this the other day, that imperfect action is better than nothing. So imperfect action is better than doing nothing. Because at least in the imperfect action, you're doing something, and it will get you on your way of doing something good and great. But doing nothing, obviously, when we're just maybe being perfectly at doing nothing, that's not what we want. Great observation. So it's great to have all these nice comments coming in. If you do have questions, go ahead and put a Q next to it. It makes it a little bit easier as I go back here. Brian says, I started the happiness and confidence hypnosis session. Most issues fall under that. Yeah, and I think that's a free one I have on my app as well. So feel free to go ahead and download the app. It's at freehypnosis.app. And that means you can download it on Android. We're actually getting some more developments out this week. New titles in all-in-day version, pending approval. And if you are enjoying, go ahead and please leave a review. It just means we can help more people. So then, what we've also got here. Kenneth says, I can't drive places because I had a panic attack 12 years ago. Since then, I always wait for it to happen. So we've had a significant emotional event, which has made us decide what we think might happen. We've become conditioned or association that when this happened to me, well, if I get into a car, it might happen again. And that's where we've got to get out our own way. Yes, we've got to learn from that past experience. Unconsciously. You don't even have to do it consciously. We've got to get your unconscious mind to realize that that fear of driving was a decision that was made, but it doesn't have to define who you are. I actually have a driving phobia hypnosis track. That's what I definitely recommend. Just pre-teaching. Claudia said, haha, I suck less. It is kind of true though. It's like a different frame of reference. If I just focus on getting less bad at something, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get stronger. It takes the pressure off us. Chandra said, is it okay to laugh at your mistakes? It is. But who says it's not to? This is the learning. This is the growth. This is the transformation. It's better to laugh at your mistakes than actually beating yourself up because of them. Just with the laughter, look for the learning. Because the learnings will protect you. The decisions that we make, the limiting ones of the so-called mistake, may define our experience. But if we learn from it, we grow because of it, those learnings will protect you in the future rather than the old limiting decision. So once we get the unconscious mind to learn, we will then be safer. So it's about getting the learnings. Claudia says, amazing, Joseph. Thank you for giving me this now. You're more than welcome. Thank you for showing up and being right here, my friend. I really appreciate you. Okay, Anusa said, thank you, Joseph. So needed this learning tonight. Well, thank you. Great question here from the powerful Amy. If we all have fight and flight response, is everyone generally one or the other? Is one better to be? So if we all have the fight and flight response, is everyone generally one or the other? Well, actually, I would say there's a misconception with the fight and flight response because they actually miss a third one. It's the middle one. It's called the freeze. We either fight, flight, or freeze. That's where we get like the rabbit in headlights or the deer in headlights, whichever one it is. That freeze can actually be the biggest issue. That's the thing which can actually cause us to be in a worse case, because if we've flight something, we're getting out of the way. If we fight something, we're trying to survive, but the freeze can actually harm us. And I'm saying this in terms of the context of our situation. Because usually, more often than not, psychologically, in our past, we've had a freeze moment. And you may even reflect on it. Maybe there's been a time, and not for this, for everyone, Amy, there may be a time in something happened in the past, something was said or something done to us, and we froze in that moment, like my one, being in front of everyone at school and going, I'm not enough. I'm not capable. The freeze moment can actually be the worst, but we're going to choose one of those actions or reactions though, for sure. And what we kind of put on, like which one's better? I mean, probably the flight to a degree because we're getting out of the situation, but it really is context dependent and so on. But really cool question there. John says, you're 35 next month. Well, happy birthday. What day is your birthday? Amy also says, the term fake until you make it, does that work for things like confidence and happiness and getting out your comfort zone? Here's the thing, Amy. Like I said, I really love your questions. Fake it till you make it is not going to work. That's the illusionary aspect to it. Now, if we go to fake it till we make it, we might put ourselves in situations where we might fail because we didn't have what we needed. So that's the unauthentic us. That's us being inauthentic. The key here is to evolve ourselves. Yeah, push ourselves, but don't pretend. Don't pretend that we're something that we're not, in other words. You've got to just evolve yourself. Yeah, if we've got issues, or if we want to be a good public speaker, I'm not going to say I didn't know how to do public speaking, which I didn't. I'm not going to pretend I am one. I'm not going to go around and say, hey, I'm a public speaker, because I'm going to get found out. But if I can enhance my craft, if I can learn from it, if I can start to put my attention on myself to get bigger, stronger, and more by still doing something and going beyond my comfort zone, that's growth, that's evolving, that's me recognizing that I've got an issue and I'm going to do something about it. So that's not faking it, that's just you growing, that's just you evolving. And that's what I love, to be unapologetically you in who you are, whilst realizing there's more to learn, there's more to grow, there's more to evolve, and there's more to become. That means you're always in an ever state of learning and growth. So it's about really learning that craft, or learning that ability to recognize that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you're deserving to achieve those things, or to be that person that you want to be, so you can really enjoy it. Because if you come from a place of fake it till you make it, it's not going to work. And here's the thing, right, as well, and we talked about this before. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and then act upon it with conviction. That was said by Neville Goddard in the 50s or 40s or something like that. Now, if we break it down into more simplistic terms, assume the feeling of having achieved your goal, right? But then act upon it. Embrace it, do something about it to learn and to grow. Yes, you want to feel the feelings of the outcome of what you want. That's not faking it. That's considering what you really want, so we can get engaged at an unconscious level to get what we want. We're almost saying, look, this is how I'd like to feel. If I think of my end outcome or my end goal, and let's say it was a public speaker, I want to think and recognize how I'm going to feel having become a public speaker, having mastered my craft. Well, that feels really good. And now I'm going to take action in the learning steps of getting that way. So that's not faking it till you make it. That is evolving. And that's where I think the best solution is of transformation. A really, really good question. Okay, that's right. We've got to get out of our own way, learn and grow. You're more than welcome, everybody. See all these good things or comments here. John says, I'm experiencing lots of panic attacks. Any advice? Cheers as ever, and a thumbs up. Well, let's just get it on the screen still. We got to realize that panic attacks, they're associated to something. Like, if we had no visual awareness, auditory awareness, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory, our five senses in other words, we probably wouldn't have panic attacks because we have no connection with the outside world. So panic attacks, or anxiety in general, is a trigger. I see this and it makes me feel this way. In the basic context of it, there's an external trigger that causes me to feel this way. But if we go deeper into that, it's a thought that we have. It's a belief about yourself or the situation. So don't focus always, yeah, we've got a panic attacks, hypnosis track and all those things. But while still listening to something like that, realize, okay, what is my strategy here? What is the cause of the panic attacks? Once I start to solve the root of the issue and not just the symptom, I then let go of all the symptoms. So just become aware, okay, what is my trigger here? Is it something that I think? Is it something that I believe? Is it something I see? Is it something I hear that causes me to have this reaction? Whether it be phobic, whether it be anxiety, whether it be blushing, whether it be self-consciousness, whether it be anxiety, whether it be self-doubt, notice what your triggers are and start to work upon the cause of those symptoms. You'd never go to a doctor one day and you say, look, I've got a headache, sore throat, stomach ache, aches, pains, fever, shiver, all those things. When the doctor would turn around and say, look, here, John, here's a pill for the headache. Here's one for the sore throat. Here's one for the ache. Here's one for the pain. Oh, here's one for the fever. Oh, here's one for every time you eat, you don't feel that good. Before you know it, you've got like 50 containers of pills you got to take every day just to manage your experience. That's not going to do it. That's keeping you in pain. A good doctor would go, look, based on all these things, the headache, the fever, the shiver, the aches, the pains, the bad stomach every time you eat, I think you've got this issue. It could be like a bacterial infection. So rather treating the symptom, look to find the cause. And by finding the cause, you will then, if you can solve that cause, the symptoms will disappear. That's my philosophy of all transformation. Finding the root cause that creates all the stuff in our life. And we could be all symptoms, it could be health, relationships, career, finances. Sometimes what we do in one thing, we tend to do in most things. So become aware of what that trigger point is and start to work on what that is. And we also know that anxiety and panic attacks is a protective mechanism. So that's where we've got to evolve our unconscious mind. So I hope that helps in some way for you. Yvonne says, thank you so much, Joseph. There's been immensely uplifting and wonderfully motivating. Well, that is awesome. Thank you ever so much, Yvonne, for being on this stream. It's always like a pleasure to be able to see and hear, well, not see and hear, but I'm seeing your comments. Okay, if we've got questions, go ahead and let me know. Got one right here. Elise says, how do I balance personal relationships when I'm trying to grow a new business? Now, this is a very tricky one because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, in order to get what you want, there has to be some form of imbalance. And that's okay sometimes. It can be hard. I'm not saying it's truthful 100% of the time, but sometimes you might have to go, look, I need to put my mind into my business for 6 months and bear with me. Bear with me through this process, because once I get to that point, then I can put my attention on you. So when it comes to personal relationship, that's communication. Sometimes you're going to have to put long nights into it. Sometimes I've worked 12 hours a day for a month, at least. I've had to do that to grow my business, to master my craft, or to create or generate something. But the way I do it is to communicate that. Communicate, look, this is what has to be done. I realize that we have this connection, this relationship, and I want you to know me doing this for this period of time doesn't devalue you and our relationship, but there's something I have to do for my business. And once we get to that point of more balance, then I want to be able to reconnect in a deeper way than we ever have. So that is a reframe. But there are going to be times where there's going to be an imbalance to every, not all the time, but to most goals that we get. If we're big enough, for example, if you want to be an athlete, you want to be an Olympian, there's going to maybe be some imbalance there. Imbalance when it comes to a variety of foods or drinks that you might have. You might have to be really strict on your diet. You might not go socializing or partying because there has to be more focus on the desired goal or dream. But maybe once achieved that, you can then take it a little bit easier. So don't worry about the imbalance, worry about your communication of the imbalance. Communicate effectively through intention. Get them to understand that, look, this is my intention. You might see me working hard, but it doesn't mean I value you less. But this is so important to me that I'm wanting to make an impact or make a business. but realize that you're important. And how can we prioritize our time? How can I spend, look, say I've got to spend the next 30 evenings, how can I make sure that I can fit 20 minutes every day purely focused on that person? Like, make it your job to know their love language, to know what will really make them feel good. Prioritize that time so you can do as much as you can. And it will be hard, but you've got to make some time. But no, imbalance is fine, but it's about being clean on your intentions, being clean on your communication, and then also trying to make up that value in a designed way, so they feel loved or they feel heard. But here's the thing, right? And this for everyone right now. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to be felt. Now, if your mind is on your business or for anyone and any endeavor, that person might not be feel seen. They might not feel heard. They might not feel felt. But if you start to communicate with them and let them know and really try to fulfill some of that being seen, heard, and felt, they'll get it. It's the communication. That's such a good question, so thank you, Elise, and I hope that actually answered it. And there's why we like doing the Q&As or the coaching on this as well. You get an opportunity, so feel free to go to Twitch, which is twitch.com/JosephClough, facebook.com/Joseph's fan page, and youtube.com/JosephClough, and you'll be able to get notified. You're more than welcome, Kayla, saying thank you so much, Joseph, for your help tonight. I really need it. Well, that's a pleasure that I could do that. Jim says, I agree with someone who said definitely needed this right now. Well, thank you, Jim. And I want you to know that you are awesome, my friend. John's birthday is May the 1st, and I'm not saying this for everyone. I'm not going to hypnotize you and say, look, I'm not suggesting that you buy me birthday. I'm not going to suggest that. No, my birthday is May 24th, but I'm not going to suggest you buying me presents. I'm hopefully trying to get back to England for my birthday, but we'll see with all these things going on in the world. The thing we will not name. Wendy says, I like the idea of thanking the behavior you don't want for what it was trying to protect you, and letting it know it's not helping you now. And this helped me let go of most unhelpful actions. Wendy, that is awesome. That is really my philosophy in many ways of connecting with our unconscious mind and treating it like a child. Treating it like a child will try to please you. They might paint on the wall, but that painting was for you. It's annoying and it's inconvenient, but think about the intention of what that child was doing. It was trying to do it for you. And the unconscious mind's the same way. It's trying to protect you. Separate behavior from intention. Acknowledge the intention and generate an alternative behavior which will fully meet the intention. For example, if we have an anxiety or panic attack, we know the intention is safety and protection, but how can we generate an alternative by getting it to know that, thank it for what it's trying to do, but then suggest an alternative way of being fully safe and fully protected, which will then meet the needs of that intention? That was really, really awesome question. And Amy says, thank you so much. Definitely a great way to end the evening. Very uplifting and inspiring. And thank you, Amy, as always, for bringing the good and great questions. You are a superstar, my friend. And I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. And once again, I'm going to just say it one more time. If you want to get my app, which has over 543 at the time of the release of this replay, if I put it out, but at least 540 free episodes, over 100 free hypnosis sessions. There will be this coming week day and night versions, hopefully, or fingers crossed I should say there, which means if you purchase one track, you're going to get a second for free. If you've unlocked the whole library, you're going to get all of them for free. So that is going to be awesome. And also, if you are liking my work, if you're liking these live streams, I'm happy to keep on doing it. Oh, hey, Rachel, great to have you in here, just coming in right there. Great to have you, my friend. Always see your comments, and obviously we know each other as well. Wendy says, great app. Thank you. Chandra says, had the app for many years. Thank you. If you could leave a review, it just means that other people will feel good about downloading it. And that just means that they can actually change themselves. I already feel like we could all make big ripples out in the world. And just leaving a review, yeah, it helps my business and it helps pay for the app updates and everything. But more than that, to me, it gets the work out there. It gets the work out there. I don't mind doing 3 live streams a week, doing 3 hours, plus releasing all the hypnosis tracks. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind paying for the services and all those things, as long as we can get it out in the world. Right now, we're like pretty much on the cusp of 10 million downloads on just the podcast. That blows my mind, but it means we're getting it out there. And that's what I want. I want people to have help for free if they need it for free. And I believe that podcast can be a great vehicle for many people. It can be the first step. It can keep them hanging on. People have sent me emails saying they found my podcast somewhere in the middle of the night when they were close to the edge. And that kind of chokes me up sometimes. But they found it close to the edge. They listened to it and they actually got through it. That is why we do what we do here. That is why I want to keep producing. I want to be able to help people. So just know there is help needed, and together we can make a big change in the world. So thank you ever so much, everyone. Thank you, Chandra, saying that you're a good dude. Well, I appreciate you in every single way. Just know that whatever you think you are always more. You are always, always more. And there is so much to learn, so much to grow. And realize that real living is beyond your comfort zone, because you're learning, you're growing, you're evolving. And then after a while, you realize there wasn't much to be fearful of, other than the fear itself. So let's go ahead, change our mind, change our world, and do what has to be done. Many thanks and goodbye.